Hello and welcome to today's video. So this time we're going to be taking a look through my recent vintage Matchbox diecast pickup. So I got quite a selection this time round, most of them boxed, so I'm really pleased to share these with you. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so we're starting with this one here. Now this is number 33A, and it's the Ford Zodiac. And this is one of just a handful that I've got in loose condition today. Now this one dates all the way back to 1957. That was when it was first released. And what I'm going to do with these is just very carefully. This is a really soft toothbrush. I'm just going to run it over the surfaces just to displace any dust that might be there. It's a little bit of rust there on the axles, but nothing too serious, to be honest. The actual paintwork's really nice. And then once I've given these the once over to take any dust off like that, which it is, I'm then going to give them a wipe. And what I'm going to do, I've got this soft cloth here, and what I found worked really well is I've got some Mr. Sheen, just some furniture polish, and I'm going to spray that onto the corner of my duster there and dab it in. And then what I found when I've done these in the past is that I'm just going to use that bit which is slightly damp and just give the surfaces here a bit of a light polish. Sometimes when you pick these up at toy fairs, and this is the result of a couple of toy fairs and a couple of purchases off eBay, where I found all this lot today. But sometimes you get the remnants of like a dealer's sticker on the bonnet or something. Nothing serious at all. It's not going to cause long-term damage, but it sometimes leaves a bit of a sticky mark there, a bit of a residue, which is what this gets off. So that's, in my eyes, absolutely fine. A lovely, nice early one. And I've found that most of my early ones are tending to be in loose condition, but not all of them, but most of them. And the later ones I'm managing to find okay boxed up, which is cool. Now, the next one we've got is number 54A, and that's this one. This is a great condition one. This is the Saracen personnel carrier. Now I have actually got one of these loose. This is obviously a massive upgrade to the one that's in my collection already. Let's get this little fella out. And this was a lucky find off eBay. So the box isn't bad at all, considering its age. A little bit of like very light foxing around the edges, but nothing to worry about. And quite a nice one, that. Obviously my boxed ones I display in my display case. Usually I pop them on top, which is how this one's going to go. Once it's in place, I'll sort of balance it. But the actual model itself, yeah, it seems absolutely fine, that one. A slightly later example, but yeah, first released in 1958, but was around for quite a long time, this one, as were quite a few of the military vehicles in actual fact. That one honestly hasn't got a mark on it, so nothing to be done on that. It doesn't look like it's hardly had any sort of play wear at all, so yeah, very nice, that one. A big improvement over the loose one that I've got, so yeah, we'll end up popping him on like that, I think, in the cabinet, something like that. That'll look pretty smart, I reckon. Now, the next one we've got is a Wolseley 1500. If I can get this one to stand up there. Which is this little fella here, very small car. It's a shame they never did the Wolseley Hornet. That came a little bit later there, didn't it? But this is also 1958. It's number 57A. Here we are at the Wolseley 1500. I believe I got this off the same one as I got the Ford Zodiac off. And there was a dealer who had basically these were his childhood ones. They were, I believe I got this one at the Matford Toy Fair in Exeter. This is all the ones we're seeing today were either from Matford or from the New Plymouth sort of toy and retro fair, which was at the Life Centre, and that was a few weeks ago now, and that was off to a good start. Nice that it was on our doorstep as well. And then, as I said, the rest of it, I've been doing a little digging, and I found a few slightly cheaper boxed models online, and they are out there, but you know, some of the ones I picked up are quite common, but the price was right, you know, so there we are. That's a really nice one, that. Okie doke. Now, the next one we've got is 1958, and it's the Road Roller, but this is 1C. So if you remember, the very first Matchbox model is the Road Roller, but it's much smaller than this. This is the later one. This was also from the Toy Fair, so it was really cheap. It was like £4, and I thought, I'm not going to mind that. As you can see, it's quite dusty. So this is one of those ones that is definitely going to benefit from having a polish. But we'll use the toothbrush first of all to try and get into the nooks and crannies, which are considerable on this one. And I think this has obviously been on display because you can see where the dust is sort of settled on it over the years. But this is a good way to just disturb that dust. Evening Barford Road Roller. There we are. Number 1. There we are. So once I've gone over it like that, I will go over with the slightly damp cloth here. It's a little bit of wear along the top there, where it's been handled over the years, but nothing too serious. It's absolutely fine in my opinion. As I said, really, ultimately, if you just want one of each model without variants that Matchbox released from when they started their cars up to about 1983-84, which is sort of when I would have last bought any myself personally, there's about 330 different models to collect. And you know, it's nice to have them all boxed, of course, but if you can't afford the boxed ones, well, picking them up loose is actually a pretty cheap proposition, in all honesty, you know. Now, the next thing chronologically that we need to have a look at is this little catalogue here. So this is a beautiful catalogue. Let's move these out of the way. It's a beautiful catalogue from 1961. It's not, although it was sold in Britain, it's got the tuppence there, it's the international catalogue. So, you know, and it's not mint. All my other catalogues are absolutely pristine. However, I haven't got any this early, and it was only, I think it was a £5, which actually isn't bad for this, because it's 1961, it is really early. A couple of little pen marks there. These are gorgeous, look at that. Matchbox painting books. They look really great. And there's a paint and crayon set as well. Yes, very, very nice. Now, I'm also going to try and track down one of these little Matchbox badges which came with number 71, the military water truck, and there's a few of those over the years and I haven't got any yet, so they're definitely going to be on my hit list. But I wanted to just have a little flick through of this one since I've got the catalogue actually out in front of me. So as I said, it's the international one, so it's in English, but it has also got, by the looks of it, French, Spanish and German language, and then it will just have the models that were available at that time, including the Road Roller there, which we've just seen. I think these catalogues are absolutely fantastic. I love them. They are really, really great. And eventually, I think I'd like to get the whole lot, although the early ones are quite expensive now. But I think they did a really good job with them. This one I'm particularly after, the Citroen DS19 in the lemon. What a great one that is. New Matchbox. And often when you see these, sometimes they're like pre-production models. They changed colours before they were actually released in the majors. I've only got the one of those. And Models of Yesteryear is not a series I have any real attraction to. It may be a couple of odd ones I might end up getting if I really like the look of them. I've got one of these, but my cab is the wrong colour. It's a red cab, not a blue one. But I'm still keeping it because it was just a bit of fun, that one. It's not boxed or anything. And there it is. It would have been part of that set there. But yeah, lovely. Very, very nice. I like the little catalogues. And speaking of which, this isn't, I've already got one of these, but this is just another one I picked up. Once again, it was only about £4. Now, really, really nice ones of this particular one are selling for about £50 to £60 in a nice box. So that's beautiful, pristine mint in a nice mint box, 50 to 60. However, I've already got one of these in actually worse condition than this one, and I put it on the back of my car carrier. So I'm going to put this one next to it as well, and I think eventually I'm going to have 4 beaten up ones, which I reckon are going to be taken to the Volkswagen crusher. Now, obviously, I'm going to use the duster again, but I don't want to get anywhere near the paper 137 because that's the original transfer. My other one hasn't got a transfer at all. Yeah, eventually, one day, I will get a really, really pristine one that I'm going to put with my main collection. But for now, this one's going to be forever on my upgrade list. Right, I think I need to just clear the decks a little bit and we'll get the next few out. Okay, so the next one is number 40. Now this is the Leyland Royal Tiger coach. And this is in a beautiful box here. Long distance coach. These are just really, really elegant, aren't they? I very much like these. So let's slide him out. Yeah, for some reason I really, really like the coaches, and I've got a few now. I've got like the Setra one, and we've got another one we can see a little bit later on. In fact, the Setra coach, which is one I had when I was really, really young, I've actually got that in 2 out of the 3 main sort of colours. And there are a few on the Matchbox list that I have a funny feeling I might try and track down a few of the weird sort of variants and the variant colours in that, because I do sort of quite like seeing the models with the different colours. But my first goal is just to get one of each, boxed or loose, I don't mind, and then you can take it from there. There we are. There's a bit of dust on the end of the coach there. That's really nice, that one. Almost like futuristic, isn't it? Now, I'm going to put a little bit more polish on my duster here, because it does dry out over time. And although, I mean, it's virtually spotless, isn't it? Virtually spotless, that one. Yeah, very, very nice. Very odd looking vehicle, isn't it? It's not your traditional coach, but it's a real beauty, actually. Going to display very, very well, that one, isn't it? I have a feeling. Now, the next one is the Mercedes coach. There is another coach. This is number 68 here. 68B, that was 1962, this is 1965. So ever such a slight change in box. You've got the little illustration on the side now. As I said, I thought it would be interesting, because I've got a lot of boxed ones this time, is for us to go through the models that I've picked up chronologically. So we started with the early ones there, and we'll work our way right up to the 80s ones. And this box is really, really tight. So what I tend to do is just get get this little pocket screwdriver in there. Yeah, really nice, nice box, that one. They're not all pristine like this, but that is one of the better ones. That's for certain. Very interesting colour on it. It's quite light, this one. For some reason, it seems sort of surprisingly light. I guess because half the model is just plastic, isn't it? Yeah. It's a beauty, though. So you can see this one hasn't really been on display because the yellow and the white top, the plastic, hasn't yellowed at all. Just give on this one once again a gentle wipe over with the toothbrush and take any bits of dust out. So compared to last year when I started picking these up, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling that the market may have actually cooled a little bit. The hottest ones certainly do still seem to be the early 70s, the sort of ones that were like made up, as it were. They were like not in a lot, they weren't always based on actual physical cars on the road. I think the market has cooled off a little bit, but the prices that some of these are going for in at Vectus, for example, in the Vectus auctions, are still, to me, raising a lot of eyebrows. I think, well, it's weird because Vectus tend to, I think they put lots up really, really weirdly. They put like 5 of the same one, and I've noticed that stuff that's turned up at Vectus on auction has it's then turned up on eBay, and obviously one of the bigger Matchbox specialists on eBay has bought these lots from Vectus, and they're just selling them on. And Vectus do have a reputation for good quality stuff on the whole, so you know there are bargains to be had, but at Vectus there is, but you need deep pockets and you need to be prepared to buy lots of the same model, which just seems a bit crazy to me, but I guess if they sold them all individually it would just be too great a job. Anyway, I think we've just about got room for squeezing one more in, but that is really, really gorgeous, that coach there. And then what's the last one we'll look at here before I need to reset the camera? Oh, well, it's this one. Yeah, so this is the boat and trailer. So it's a similar sort of period. This is number 9D, and the box is a little bit more worn than I actually realised at the time that I bought it. I guess, I don't know, it was perhaps a bit later in the day, and ultimately I am a little disappointed with this one. The price was cheap, but the box, it's got a bit of amateur repair, keeping the flap in place there, just there. They've not done a bad job. It's got magic tape on, but it'll look okay on the shelf like that, but it's not perfect. But the actual model itself is all right. So we'll take the elastic band off. I'm not a massive fan of these sorts of ones which come in 2 parts, and these are trailers, but so many of the early Matchbox models did actually have little toe jacks on the end so that you could hook up this sort of stuff. This one has actually picked up quite a bit of dust since yeah, toothbrush is getting in there where it needs to. So yeah, so these sorts of ones I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer the actual cars, but they are part of the Matchbox story, and as I said, they do tend to go for a few pounds, these, and this one was cheap. This was only about like a tenner maybe, which is cheap for this one, but yeah, the box has definitely seen better days, but it's not bad ultimately. So yeah, officially just called the Boat and Trailer. It's from 1966. So when you think of the age of it, ultimately it's not too bad, is it? But yeah, a bit of a slightly odd one. I guess I'll just pop it on the box, something like that. And that won't look too bad in the cabinet. Right, time to reset the camera once again. Okay, so the next one we've got is number 74 here. Now this is 74B. it's the Daimler bus. And they call it a Daimler Fleet Line bus, and I believe there's lots of little variations of this one, a bit like all the buses really. This one was published, or released rather, in 1966, so we're still in the 1960s. This is a pretty tasty one, and I gotta admit, I really do like these buses, and I think you could sort of see why some people end up collecting lots of different variations with like different adverts on the side of the buses. This one's really, really nice and crisp. And the good thing about the buses, in fact, is that they don't tend to sell for very much. There's so many of them. Generally, they're pretty cheap. I always remember a friend of my mum's when I was growing up. He had a collection, and that's all that he collected was buses. And he had loads and loads of different ones. I mean, he must have had like 100 or so, I think. There we are. And this really feels quite substantial. It feels like a really great sort of Matchbox model, that one. And the box to go with it. It's a beauty. I really, really like that one. I know it's only basic. It's only a bus, but it's a good bus. Let's see if we can squeeze it in picture somehow. I'll pop it in front of the cabinet. It's quite a tall model when you've got it on the box, actually, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So there we are, we got that one in. Now the next one was a bit of a fiddly one, because it was this one, which is number 58C, the DAF girder truck. And this one dates from, well, it first came out in 1968. Mine's not perfect by any means. It got a little bit damaged in the post, because this is one I bought off eBay. But the seller graciously sort of took a bit off. I mean, I suppose, and I have heard of people doing this, I could strip the box down, because all that's happened is it's got squashed. I could strip the box down, put it under some paper, and then iron it, and it would really like straighten out these where it's got a bit crushed, a little bit crushed. So it's possibly something I'll do down the line, but it's not, it's fairly robust. I think it's going to be all right to put in the display case. I'll choose the best side and stick it out that way, you know. I think it's probably going to be like that. It's going to be the best, its best side. The model itself, it comes with all these girders, and if you have a look on the side, you can actually, the girders stick together. I have checked them, and they make it like a little, I don't know, a little tower, a little assembly. Pretty cool, isn't it? So it's the first sort of Matchbox I've got which has an interaction, shall we say. Now, it's got this very, very light cream colour, which I would imagine picks up every little bit of dust going. So give it the once over here. There's a tiny little bit of like something there. I'm not sure what it is. It's not a sticker. It's not a chip either. It's just, I don't know. I think it's just a little flaw from the factory. There we are. Now, as far as I could see, all the girders were absolutely fine. They did have, some of these had, when I got them, they had a little bit of, you can see a little bit there, where the original elastic band had been around them, the band had perished and it had left a little mark. So I will need to get a small elastic band to keep these in place. But for the time being, I think they'll just sit on the back of the actual model exactly as they would have been back in the day, and I'll just have them without an elastic band keeping them in place for the time being, because obviously I'm not going to be playing with them, but they will end up in my display case, so I want them looking good. There we are, and it'll probably be something along those lines. Or actually, what I try and do, if I can, is have the vehicles facing the same way that they're facing on the box, which I've not done on that one. I see that one's round, yeah, that one I think was possibly round the wrong way. It's having like that. There we are, and that one, he's in there like that. So that's good, isn't it? Right, that is it for the 1960s, and now we've got a little run of 70s ones. So we've got number 19E, and 19E is the Road Dragster. There we are. This is very, very funky. This is, although it's from that period which is, I think, the most collectible at the moment with Matchbox, this one I actually got pretty cheap, and he's fairly common. So I only paid like £10 for this one, which once again was my, which I thought was a bargain for a box one. It's got a couple of ink marks there, but that side, he's absolutely fine. And I think even if I was to track down this model in nice condition, unboxed, it's going to be that sort of money. So I'm just gonna, I don't think this has ever been on display because it's really, really great shape. Got the super fast wheels, and it's like you can see the influence of Hot Wheels on the Matchbox line at this point, can't you? Now I am going to give it a tiny and very gentle polish, but I'm going to avoid the stickers. But I think that's really, really superb, that one. A real funky one, that. Look at that. That is really nice, isn't it? That is really going to be quite a cool one in the cabinet. I think we've got room for another one here. So there's another one, the same sort of period. Once again, very, very common. So this is number 21. 21. This is 21E. In actual fact, I think I've jumped forward a little bit. We actually want this one next, if we're doing it chronologically, which is number 15. So 15E, the Lansing Bagnall forklift. And this one was from, that was 71, this is 1972. So this one, believe it or not, was £6 in a box. So I was really, really pleased with that. I mean, you'd struggle to buy a brand new toy for that sort of money, wouldn't you? It's just £6. All right, it's not mint, but it's not bad, is it? Let's be honest, you know. Now, you can clearly see that this one's got some dust and dirt along the top. So this is definitely been on display. So this is where my toothbrush is going to get into all these little nooks and crannies, hopefully, and it's going to get the majority of this off. That is the plan. Well, it's not done too bad a job, but I am going to get my cloth in there as well. It's a little bit sort of behind the mechanism there, which is also a bit on the dusty side. It's definitely better. It's a really awkward one to clean, actually. But you can see just in that trench there, there's like a layer of dust. So what you can do is I get my cloth, I put the screwdriver underneath it, and I'm just going to run it in there, because that is much smaller, obviously, than my hand and toothbrush. And we'll just get a few other little bits that are in the groove cleaned as best we can. It's not perfect, but he's not bad. I think that's about as good as we're going to get. Get that bit behind the mechanism, because I believe this just, you could have it right up like that, which is what forklifts do, isn't it? There we are. But for the money, I think that was the best or cheapest box one I think I've ever bought, pretty much, you know. And that will display something along those lines, I think. So I'm not a massive fan of the commercial vehicles, but they are part of the series, so I don't want to ignore them. Well, there we are. Once again, I think we've run out of space, so I'm going to need to push them all back. So let's pause just there. Right, so the next one then is number 37. 37D, the Super Cooper. One of those daft ones, which is almost, yeah, well, it is. It's one of those imaginary models that Matchbox created when things were a bit daft in the early 70s. This is from 1972. Once again, the box is not mint, but it's not rubbish by any means. I think this one was £12 from the Plymouth Toy Fair, which I didn't think was bad at all. And the actual model itself is great. This would have been one of the ones that I possibly could have had as a child, but I don't ever remember having it, and there's no photographic evidence either, so I'm assuming I never had this one ever. But it's groovy, it's funky, quite an unusual sort of turquoisey colour on it, but yeah, he's alright. It's alright, that one. Yeah, 1972. They are mad, aren't they? It was a really sort of weird period in sort of Matchbox history, wasn't it? This the early 70s. They obviously influenced by what Hot Wheels were doing, and they were feeling the pressure, I guess. So they had to sort of move with the times, which to some degree they did. But as I said, I think most of last year, this particular sort of era, were amongst the most collectible and most sought after, it seemingly, of the vintage Matchbox models. So I don't know, but as I said, I think I've seen a slight cooling off of them just lately, so that's a good thing if you're collecting them. Now this next one I've been after for a while, and I wasn't able to find a really nice one, and in the end I got one, not off eBay, but I think it was like toydiecast.com, where lots of diecast dealers go on, and you can buy direct off them. It's the first time I bought one off them, and it came in this rather snazzy display box designed for small diecasts like this, which I thought, well, that's really nice. And I've seen these advertised, and they work out, you can buy them sort of 100 at a time, and they work out about 30 pence each, which isn't bad really. If I didn't have a display case to put my models in, I think I'd buy these for all my models, because they'd it really does protect them. So I think that's really, really quite nice. But because I've got a display case, I can put that one straight in. So I'm going to keep the box though, because that's might be quite handy to have. It makes them really easy to display as well, because they can be sort of stacked up, of course. But here he is, and once again, it was one of those slightly imaginary models, but one I've been after for ages. And this is one of those ones that I will end up trying to get the little variations of, if I can find them in nice condition. And I did actually pick up an American version of this, which we'll get to in a minute. But there we are. Brilliant sort of box art, isn't it, this one? And this first came out, once again, 1972. And it's 46D is its code number. So there are variations of the sticker, there's variations of the base as well, and also the actual windows. I'm not so fussed about that, but I would like the different colours, and there's 3 to get. And there we are. It's got the actually got a patient lying in bed there in the back there, which is super cool. I think they're really, really nice. It's a really, for some reason, and I don't know why, I can't put my finger, but it just sort of appeals to me. So there you go. But I don't think, I mean, it's been absolutely beautifully looked after, so it doesn't really need much in the way of wiping, but I'm going to do it anyway because I just like to. There we are. I think that's a real cracker, that one. So we're going to pop that one, well, it should be that way round if I'm going to display it with its the correct way. So does that fit into the picture? Yeah, it does. Just slip him over there. Slip him over there, the stretcher fetcher. Next, it's the rod roller. Well, we had a little preview of that one, didn't we, earlier? This is number 21E. This is 1973, so we've gone forward another year. But when you think, even this is 50 years old now, when can you say you can pick up 50-year-old toys at a reasonable price? That's one of the reasons why I love Matchbox so much, and I've got really into it, is because I think I know there's a few rare ones and expensive ones, but overall they represent fantastic value for money compared to other toys which you could collect, you know. So there we are. That's the Road Roller. not bad. Because of its era, of course, they've managed to put a flame on the dashboard, which, let's be honest, it was the 70s. You could get away with that. Let's just get my little toothbrush in. It's sort of a limey yellow, isn't it? And it does harken back a little bit to the original number 1, doesn't it? A little bit. So yeah, once again, it's one of the sort of the industrial ones, and I'm not a massive fan of those, but I don't mind them, shall we say. I don't mind them. So we'll stick him over by the forklift truck. Have him like that. That's cool. Now the next one we've got is the Mercedes 350 SL, and this was at number 6E, so the 5th model to have the number 6 in the series, and this one was released in 1974 for the first time. And all of these had a few like years on the shelf, as it were, and this one's much more of a traditional one. I am pleased because I think there's about 4 versions of this, different colours, but I'm pleased to have the one which is pictured on the box. Mag wheels, racing suspension. Yeah, a little bit of suspension there. Yeah, very interesting colour, this one. 1973. A little bit of tarnish on the bottom, but not much. Very, very nice, isn't it? That's gorgeous. A bit more of a traditional car, because we've seen some crazy ones, haven't we, lately? This is a bit more straightforward. Beautiful Mercedes vehicle. I think it will benefit from a tiny rub with my cloth here. Very, very nice. I really like this one. Yeah, nothing special, but just nothing, you know, it's just a really good one. That's just all there is to say about it. So, yeah, very, very pleased with that. Right, now I'm hoping, because we've almost run out of room and I've still got a few more to go. As I said, it was a particularly good time for vintage Matchbox the last few months. The next one then is carded, and it's my first carded one, and it was this one here. So this is the 17F. It's one of the London buses, the Londoner bus, and this one came out in 1977 specifically for the Queen's Silver Jubilee, and it is actually quite common, and I paid about £8 for this, which was actually a bit too much, if you can believe it. A really mint one would be that sort of money, and this one is sort of so-so, but I don't know, I hadn't found a lot at the toy fair, so I wanted to I did maybe, you know, you sort of want to come away with something, and it was bundled in with a few other bits and pieces, so I thought, well, what the hell, I'll go for it. And I just need a little bit of room, because these ones here, hopefully they'll just stand up like that in my cabinet, which will be fine. But what I'm going to do is very carefully, I'm not going to put any extra polish on, I'm just going to clean the bubble and the card, because the bit which is all plastic, it hasn't yellowed, considering its age. That's good news, because I have seen these online which have had yellow bubbles, so I wouldn't want any yellow bubbled one, because they would look awful. But a surprising amount of these Matchbox models came carded. Very popular carded in America, of course, where they were on stands. I think over here they are more common boxed, but I quite like the carded ones. But at the same time, I also like actually having the toy out of the box to have a little feel of it, and, you know, display it how I want to display it. But they do, that's actually come up really well, they do actually display quite nicely. The only thing is, you know, like we've got that little plastic box for the loose ones. I think I'd like to pick up, because I've got a couple of carded ones, I think I'd be tempted to pick up just a couple of ones to keep the card in really nice condition and a bit more rigid. But very nice. Like, I love the fact they got a little room to advertise on the back, some of the other cars in the range. So yeah, I like it. Don't know if it's something I'm going to, you know, pursue big time, but I do like it all the same, you know. Now we've got a couple more to go through, so I'm just going to pause there. Okay, so the last of the regular boxed ones is going to be this one, which is number 72, and it's 72D. This one came out in 1979, so it's the only one we've seen today with the lovely 75 with the stripes on, which I really love this designer box. This is the Bomag Road Roller, another Road Roller, and for some reason it's been earlier ones that have come my way rather than these slightly later ones, which I do love. But this has got a really nice box on it, so I'm very pleased with that one. And the actual toy itself, well, once again, it is an industrial one, so it's not going to be absolutely top of my list, but he's okay. It's absolutely fine. So we'll give it the once over. But this one, much more recent, of course, and it looks like it's never been out of the box from what I can see, which is always good news. That's how we'd like them all, if we could find them like that, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, not a lot to say about that. Once it's an industrial one, they're not my favourites, but you know, they are sort of what they are. Just about got room to get this one in the picture, just about. And then we got one more, which is something a little bit special. So this is an American one, and it's another version of the Stretcher Fletcher, but this was apparently a part of a series of 10 which came out as limited editions. So this one's called the Viper Van, and this was really quite cool. Obviously made in the UK, but it's got different livery to it. And this was an American one. Yes, it's got the state and zip code. And this one came out much later, it was 1980. But this was a USA only one, and quite scarce. I would like to get one of these loose as well, because as I said, the Viper Van I think is going to be one of those ones that I end up trying to track down all the different ones. And now there is one more which is I'm trying to get hold of, and it's one that was released in Germany, and it's like in a red colour, so I'm going to try and pick up that one for a reasonable price. But so far I've not had any luck tracking one down, you know, for the sort of money that I want to pay for it, basically. But this one's okay. But once again, because of its like delicateness, it's just on this little card. I think it would benefit from having like a plastic clamshell protection around it. I mean, I'm going to put these once these are in my display case, they're going to be absolutely fine. So there's nothing to really worry about. I'm just thinking long term, I think I'd personally feel better with them in some sort of case. I have got some later like Hot Wheels, some James Bond Hot Wheels from the 90s, which are much bigger than this, but they're in little cases and they look great. And if they were to get dropped or banged, they're not going to get damaged. But yeah, I think that's really cool, and really spot on one there for to end the little run. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed my latest Matchbox pickup. Certainly a fantastic selection there. I think that's one of the best lots of Matchbox toys I've had since I've been collecting them. So I'm really pleased. So I'm going to go away and stick these all in the cabinet right now. So here they all are. They've been, I pulled the entire cabinet out, put everything into date order. So it's all displayed chronologically, and then put them back in. And don't they look good? So if I carry on at this rate, I'm probably going to need another cabinet quite soon, aren't I? But there we are. We won't worry about that just yet. So there you go. I hope you have enjoyed looking through my latest Matchbox pickups. I've certainly enjoyed having a look through and giving them a clean. If you have enjoyed the video, do please give it the thumbs up. Do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage diecast content. And I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.